The structure of fear. Once the illusion of love is removed, the conversation shifts into uncomfortable territory. If love cannot secure loyalty, then what can? This is where Niccolò Machiavelli introduces the concept that has defined his reputation for centuries: fear. But fear, as he presents it in The Prince, is not chaos, cruelty, or uncontrolled force. It is not the reckless exercise of power for its own sake. It is something far more calculated and far more effective. Fear is structure. To understand this, you have to separate emotion from function. Most people think of fear as something negative because they experience it as a feeling: anxiety, tension, discomfort. But Machiavelli approaches it as a system. Not what fear feels like, but what fear does. Fear introduces consequence, and consequence changes behavior in a way that emotion never can. When there are no consequences, people act based on preference. They follow when it is convenient. They cooperate when it benefits them. They resist when it does not. Their actions fluctuate with their interests. But when consequence is present, clear, consistent, and unavoidable, behavior stabilizes. People begin to think before they act. They measure risk. They consider outcomes beyond immediate gain. This is the foundation of control. Fear removes randomness from human behavior. It does not require people to like you. It does not require them to agree with you. It does not even require loyalty in the emotional sense. It requires only one thing: recognition of consequence. This is why Machiavelli considers fear more reliable than love. Because it does not depend on internal states that can change. It depends on external conditions that can be maintained. But this is also where many misunderstand his argument and where most attempts to apply it fail. Fear is not about intensity. It is about consistency. A leader who is unpredictable, excessively harsh, or emotionally driven does not create fear. They create instability. People cannot calculate their behavior because the system itself is unclear. And when people cannot predict outcomes, they stop respecting authority. They begin to test it, avoid it, or undermine it. True fear operates differently. It is quiet but unmistakable. It does not rely on frequent punishment, but on the certainty that punishment will occur if boundaries are crossed. It does not need to display power constantly, because its presence is already understood. In this sense, fear is closer to discipline than to aggression. It creates an environment where actions have weight, where decisions matter, where lines, once drawn, are not easily erased. Machiavelli reinforces this by introducing a crucial warning. While it is safer to be feared than loved, a leader must avoid being hated. This distinction is often overlooked, but it is the key to everything. Fear controls behavior. Hatred provokes resistance. When fear crosses into hatred, the system collapses. Because hatred activates something stronger than calculation. It activates emotion, anger, resentment, the desire for retaliation. And once people are driven by those forces, they are willing to accept risk in order to act against you. This is the moment when fear stops working, because fear relies on people wanting to avoid consequences, but hatred makes them willing to face consequences. This is why measured control is essential. A leader must create boundaries without creating resentment strong enough to override them. They must enforce rules without appearing arbitrary. They must act decisively, but not excessively. In practical terms, this means punishments must be justified. Not emotional authority must be clear, not constantly shifting. Power must be visible, but not oppressive. When these conditions are met, fear becomes stable. People may not feel affection. They may not feel loyalty in the emotional sense, but they will act within the system. They will align their behavior with what is expected. And in the context of power, this is far more valuable than affection. Because affection can disappear, but a system, once understood, can endure.